Hello everyone and welcome to the first candidate session for 2023-2024. Can you hear me? Is that better? Okay. I'm going to give you a little bit of information before we start. For those that may not know me, there have been some new folks moving in this year. I am Janice Adams and I'm currently the secretary on the board. And I'm also the chairman for this year's nominating team. And before we get started, I would like to thank the nominating team that has worked very hard and their time for making these sessions, this first session as well as the next two, happen. And they are Ann Duncan, and we've got Linda Rakowski, and we have my co-worker here, Reed Horn. So those, I do appreciate your hard work. Very good. Okay, before we get started, I'd like to also welcome our candidates. In the past few years, these sessions have proven to be very informative and a great way to be transparent with the questions and the answers. Today it is going to be audio only, so you will not be on film, but we are going to record it as audio. We'll put it on the website under the owner's login so that you all can refer to it if you want in the future. Before we get started, I would like to address a concern that some of you may have on qualifications and conflict of interest. In researching with our legal team and reviewing Mount Vernon Towers bylaws, all of our candidates have met the two qualifications, which in summary are that 2 of the directors shall be non-residents of the condominium, and 3 of the directors shall be resident owners of the condominium. Those are the only 2 requirements that need to be met. You can review the complete description in our bylaws, Article 4, Section 4.01, which is posted on the Mount Vernon Towers website if you'd like to read the complete paragraph. Now, for the conflict of interest concern of a realtor being a board member, the answer is no. One cannot prohibit realtors from serving on HOA boards. A realtor on the board does not automatically create a conflict of interest. Should areas of discussion in board meetings become a conflict of interest for any of our board members, not just realtors, they would recuse themselves from the discussion and also the voting process. I believe I speak for all current board members, when I say that we are, we as your duly elected board, we do take our position very seriously, and we want to ensure that our bylaws and any potential conflict of interest will be addressed, and rules and regulations will strictly be followed with impartiality. Also, as an MVT current board and management, we are not affiliated with any statement that a candidate may make or represent today. Now, moving on to our candidates, we're going to quickly go through a process. The process today is going to be very simple. Each candidate will have 2 minutes, 2 minutes, to state their name and why they wish to be a board member and serve you as Mount Vernon Tower for the next 2 years. Questions will then be taken from the from the floor. We'd like to ask you to please wait until we come with a microphone so that you can speak into the microphone and everybody can hear it, and then also hear the answer. We are going to ask that only 1 question be permitted to ensure that everybody has an opportunity to ask questions. If there's time at the end, we will definitely circle back around and let you ask your second question. Okay? Last but not least, my famous last words on all the board meetings is please silence your phone so that it does not distract any of the questions and answers. All right. We are ready. So I would like to start with Jerry. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you'd like to be on the board.
All right. Can everybody hear me? Yes. All right. Well, hello, fellow residents. My name is Jerry Bauer, and most of you do know me here. I grew up in Sandy Springs and went to Riverwood High and attended UGA. Being a home member here going on 5 years, I feel I know MVT inside and out and have been in most units at one time or another. A question has arisen in an email being distributed. I just want to address this up front. Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry. A question has arisen in an email being distributed that there may be a conflict of interest, which Janice addressed. And the subject matter in the unopened link from that law practice asked that question without the sender addressing it. And that question was, can associations restrict realtors from serving on the board? The answer to that question was, no, you cannot prohibit realtors from serving on HOA boards. A realtor on the board does not automatically create a conflict of interest. So if matters of real estate arise and there's a vote to be taken, I will happily recuse myself from the voting on those issues. My role, if elected, excuse me, is to do the work and help improve MVT in all ways possible, working alongside our current board. If elected, I would like to become an advocate for the modernization of MVT's technology. I believe the time is now to introduce money-saving, user-friendly touchscreen kiosks with picture icons to be located throughout our facility to cut intensive labor costs. I believe that these kiosks could quickly pay for themselves in a short amount of time. The effect of this streamlining would cut costs and be a more positive experience for all residents. In another technology issue, I'd also propose to have cable and internet services combined and possibly rewired through Comcast or DirecTV at their cost to help with the internet speed. Most residents now own a smartphone, smart TV, tablet, and our computer, which puts a major drain on our system. And the other thing I wanted to address was the dining experience that I have and the skills. Okay. I would propose to work closely with the management to find other solutions to the food and structure of the dining room layout and possible booths at windows, and hopefully adding healthy alternative menus and self-serve meals. Our current contract ends with Morrison's at the end of the first quarter of 2024 and is coming up fast. We need to explore those alternatives as backup. Thank you.
I'm Margaret Brinkman, Meg to many of you, and the reason I am running for the board is a very simple one. That's because this is my home. Now, you all came from a place called home. This can never be the same as that place, but it can be our home, and it is our home. We have the same principles that we did when we were homeowners. Fiscal responsibility, maintain the facility, upgrade it whenever we can, as well as taking care of our needs. Our home has to take care of our needs. And as we think about our lives here, those are the same things that are important to us. I think back at when I was writing my resume, which was a very interesting experience. It gives you a chance to blow your own horn, talk about everything you did, but it doesn't ask, what did you learn? What are the takeaways? And I will quote one of them. When I was chairman of a board of a co-op in Washington, D.C., we hosted a course for board members for co-ops and condos for several years. And the people that gave that course always told one story every year. It was about Watergate. Yeah, that Watergate. And when that was a brand new building, there are some people pressured the board to reduce the insurance because they said, what could happen? It's a brand new building. There was a terrible fire that the insurance did not cover. So the takeaway from that is do the right thing. And I promise to try to do that too. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michael McAlonin, and a lot of you might know me. I was a director here for 8 years in charge of facility maintenance. I find it a privilege and an honor to serve you folks as I did while I was here working for you. I'll give you a little bit of my background in a nutshell. I've owned a construction company for about 30 years. I owned one of the largest maintenance companies in Atlanta for over 20 years. I took care of over 3 million square feet of facilities for those years, from corporations, ADP, so on, office parks, restaurants, Morrison's, and if some of you folks know the Brickery, it used to be next door over here in the shopping center. I took care of their personal properties, their restaurants, and I helped build that restaurant to open it. I served him for 10 years around the clock. Well, when I came here in 2012, of course, the downturn in the real estate in 1997, it wasn't a good time to build, so I went back to my maintenance there. But when I came here, we had a challenge. It was a rough time for everybody, the economy. And when I came here, management, Ralph Marion, the board, met with me and asked me, well, what I thought, what did I bring to the table? Well, what I brought to the table was experience with maintenance, building, construction, and restaurants. I used to be the executive chef in New York. I owned 5 restaurants when I was younger. I do all the cooking at home. My wife's lucky. And I have extensive knowledge of the food and beverage as well. And I have a packet for anybody who wants my letters of reference. When I came here, we had a large vacancy, extremely large vacancy. Well, besides working as a maintenance director, which was in great need of modernization, turning it around, fixing things, repairing things, and bringing things up to code, I worked with this team, with the management, to bring it into where it needed to be. With that being said, I renovated over 100 of these condominiums that a lot of you live in. Not as fancy as some folks do, but it was an honor to do so. We basically did it, a lot of folks could do it on a shoestring, some did it more expensively, and it was through management. While I did my job, I did it with management, and we did it to help turn the place around. When Tommy Miller was here, he asked me, Michael, what do you see? We walked this property. And I gave him my thoughts, my input, and we pulled up our sleeves and we went to work.
Okay, Michael.
But I want to thank you for letting me, if I do get on the board, I will serve you diligently with interests of the board.
Well, good afternoon. My name's Scott Carrier, and I've been on the board since 2017, and a lot of what I've done is in that letter that came out in your package, and I don't plan to go through that with you. I do want to say, though, that there have been other things that don't show on this list that we have done in conjunction with management. And one of those is an interesting thing that happened back several years ago, where the HVAC equipment that we use for the condos was to be made larger in size and would not fit into our condos. So I did a little research and came up with the fact that the unit we were purchasing was too large. And so we actually went and found that the unit that was the correct size, capacity-wise, would fit into the unit without modification. So that was done in consulting with actually Michael in doing that outside work. But I could do that because of my engineering background, and I understood how the HVAC equipment should work. Also, during the remodeling of the dining room, just another small example, I went in there and noticed that the insulation in the ceiling didn't look right. And so we took and measured it and found out that the insulation company had only put in half of what they should have put in. And so again, went to management and told them, hey, this is not right. The management team got it corrected I, as a board member, did not manage anybody. I worked in consulting with the management team that we have here on staff at Mount Vernon Towers. These are just a couple of little examples, and of course there are many more that we could go into, but let's don't talk about it. But as you're aware of, Morrison's is not performing according to the contract that they presented to us. The contract is an open book, no cost guarantees and no guarantee of any kind that we have with them. And I would like to continue to work with Morrison's and get that straightened out. And I would like to continue to work with the Chase and get those straightened out. So we don't need to be starting those two projects all over again with somebody else on the board. So I look forward to keeping Mount Vernon Towers the proper place to be in Sandy Springs, and look forward to all of us enjoying our time here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. They almost held 2 minutes, right? Thank you all. Okay, here's the time that we want to hear from you. What are some of the questions that you may have? And like I said, wait till you come with, or someone will come with a microphone so that everybody can be heard. Oh. You got it? Okay.
My name is Stephen Gapp, and my comment goes to Meg, please. Thank you for volunteering to be on the board. One of the 2 points that you highlighted in your opening statement was financial integrity. You were on the Finance Committee in 2017, and in 2017, I believe knowingly, the Finance Committee put together proposed rates for homeowners association fees, which were biased against the one-bedroom apartments, and it's only due to Randy, our lawyer, that actually those rates were nixed, and that rates consistent with the Declaration of Condominium were installed in 2018. So that being the case, and your emphasis on fiscal integrity, why should I or anybody else in here entrust you with financial matters given what you were part of or what you did or what you agreed to in 2017?
Who was that directed to, Steve? Meg?
The Finance Committee in 2017 was made up of a number of people, and the decisions that were made were not mine alone. I'm not really thinking back completely to what you're talking about, but all I can say is that I think getting the most information that you possibly can before you make a decision is important, and I would certainly try to do that. I'm sorry that that decision disappointed you in 2017.
Well, it didn't just disappoint me.
All right.
It was outright wrong.
All right.
It disappointed every one-bed owner in this complex.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Meg. Next question? We've got 2 mics. We want to use them.
Thank you. This question is for Michael.
Yes, ma'am.
And he knows it's coming because I've already told him. The board has spent extensive time and energies on the Chase, replacing all of the Chases. And
I'm sorry, can everyone hear her?
the current board has spent considerable time and energies on replacing all of the Chases, which as a homeowner, I'm very happy that they're doing that. But Michael, I understand that you may be more inclined to just patch the Chases instead of replacing all of them. So I would like you to respond to that.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. I can say yay or nay to your question. For one, I haven't been here for 2 years. I don't know the status of what the board has recently viewed. I can only go off by what I know after 8 years of repairing each and every one of these units, pretty much being in those chases, my thoughts is, as an owner, as a board member, is to protect your interests, be fiduciary, making sure that whatever we spend our money on, we're doing it mindful, where needed and when needed, and only when needed, and also planning for the future as we should. If they need to be replaced, I absolutely will back the board up doing so. I'm not going to come in here and try to say start all over. I have a lot of questions. I think I'd be right to ask these questions. I should be asking these questions. I want to see what they're seeing. I know that the bottom ones across the bottom are pretty well gone. And I definitely I know that the one they opened over here, I believe it was on the first floor, the aluminum, the frame was gone. I saw that myself. I was over here. I'm coming in every month, walking the building. I know that they need a lot of repair. I can't say, sitting here today, that everyone needs repaired. I can't say they don't. But I will support the board what is needed. And I will not try to delay anything. If it needs to be done, we'll jump on it. And I will work diligently to make sure it gets done. So I don't want you to put that in the back of your mind, a way that I'm going to fight it. That's not the case, okay? I want to do what's right for the owners. I want to make sure we're not wasting money. And I want to make sure when we spend these dollars, we're doing it as we need to do so. And I will do that moving forward if elected.
Thank you. We're coming at you all in, folks.
Question for Scott. I'm on the Facility Core Committee with Scott, have been for 5 years. His background is excellent as an engineer, and how he as an engineer and how he looks into these things. And we had a meeting actually yesterday, which was a good time, concerning all of these chases, etc. He has found a company in South Georgia that does replaces the chases. We've got stucco and wood there now, which is according to an engineering study that we had not too long ago.
Closer to your mouth, please. Closer to your mouth.
They can't hear you.
Okay, that's right. The engineering study that we had very recently said that we needed to replace all of them. And I think the price quote was up around $2 million. And Scott has been working with them and also with this company to come up with a really great design that has been tested here. My guess is that you're going to have pretty good detailed information and pricing information at the annual meeting to look at this and to basically have the owners involved in making some decisions. So I just wonder how is that true, and how is it going at this point?
Well, the process is definitely ongoing, and we're looking at a variety of ways to do this. We, about a year ago, got a set of quotes from a variety of contractors, and the quotes all came in with different values, but also with different information about what they were doing and not doing, and this was doing something, that one wasn't doing it, this other one had us doing extra cost. So we have come together with a little subcommittee to put together a new bid letter. And that new bid letter is much more specific on asking each individual contractor to bid in a more consistent basis. Now, that doesn't mean they can't come up with suggestions and say, hey, I think you ought to go this way because it's a better idea. But we're going to be sending that letter out here shortly. It is, excuse me, it's written, it's been approved by the board, and it'll be going out to the various contractors. The aluminum that you saw on A114 was put in place as an example of what one contractor can do. And that was a thick-skinned aluminum coating. Because I know when you think aluminum, you think, boy, it dents quick. But it's actually about 5/16 of an inch thick. It's 2 layers of aluminum with a solid core between, so it's kind of an aluminum sandwich. That is what that particular contractor's suggestion is. It's a very good suggestion, but it's not necessarily the one that the board will recommend to the owners. Because once we get the bids in and we can analyze them, we will have a meeting. The board will decide on which one they like. And then we'll have a meeting and present everything to the owners so that the owners can fully understand what we're talking about and why we recommend what's being recommended. So that is yet to come, and I was hoping the annual meeting would be a good time, David, but I'm not sure that we'll be able to make the annual meeting. We'll more than likely have to have a separate special meeting sometime after that, once we get all of these contracts in and bid.
This question is directed to Michael. Thank you for offering to serve at Mount Vernon Towers. I have read Scott's educational background and was wondering what your certifications and degrees might be that you are holding.
Good afternoon, thank you. I am HVAC certified. I am in the process of going back to school to get certified for my inspections for the city. Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, which will be all major inspections, what the city normally does. I'm in the process of doing that now. Again, my experience has been building. For 30 years, I know buildings in and out, construction, working with engineers every day of the year. I've done almost $100 million in projects. Just this past year, I did literally $20 million in projects. I built Class A buildings. I did shopping centers in Windward, and I've renovated an entire office park of over 170 units. So schooling with a degree, no. I have physical experience handling firsthand, and what I did here, I would continue to do. I don't think a degree is going to guarantee experience, hands-on experience. I have this packet, which I'm going to pass out afterwards, about 17 pages of letters of references from restaurants, from office owners, from office park directors. I also oversaw literally Trinity Lifestyles, which is Dogwood Forest, which was one of the biggest senior living. I oversaw all their properties. Coming from the owner, she said, I basically wish I was at every single property. I maintained all their facilities and oversaw the engineering, construction, and renovation. So I have hands-on, and again, all I can give you is my knowledge of what I've done and what I would continue to do.
Thank you. Next question. This is your time, folks.
Yes, I have a question for Michael. I'm just impressed with your experience and background. I'm curious, when you were working at Mount Vernon, you were the director of maintenance, as well as you personally contracted and supervised these 100+ units for individual owners. And how was that able to be balanced in terms of your time to take care of the overall facility and handle these individual units? It seems like that's a big plateful, and was that part of the job description, or how did that work, and then how did the money flow on that? Who paid? How was that handled?
Thank you very much. It was a lot of work, and I worked over 80 hours a week. I was on call 6-7 days a week. I'd come in on Saturday. I worked after. When I went home, I reached out to the vendors. As to the finance, it all ran through Mount Vernon Towers. Nothing went through me whatsoever. The agreement was through Mount Vernon Towers. We gave them a proposal. All the payments went to Mount Vernon Towers. Mount Vernon Towers made a % on it to cover them paying the bills and the vendors. We used our insurance to make sure it was done. on this packet I'm going to give you, I have probably, also I went on my original page I gave you folks, you can go in and visit 20, 30 owners, basically what we did for them. But I did work over 80 hours, I worked night and day, I did not eat a lot of lunches. It was a lot, it was not easy. But I've always worked my whole life, that's all I ever known. And you know, you have to multitask. And it took a lot of work back and forth. I cleaned the toilets here. I took the trash out. I also oversaw your condo while it was being built. So with that being said is that, yes, it did take a lot of work. I put a lot of time in. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was not a job, it was fun. And I enjoyed what I did for the folks here. I saw what we had, we turned it around. And with that being said, it took teamwork. I didn't do it myself. I worked with management, I worked with the board, I worked with all the employees here, all the departments, and we got through it, and it's a much better place.
Don't tell me we're going to have to start circling back already. Anybody else? Hang on. We want everyone to be heard today. This is your time. Okay, we'll get with you just a second, Sue.
Thank you for the mic again. This comment is for Jerry. It's not really a question. Jerry, I like you. Really, I do. And I got here early today and I picked this seat because I thought maybe as a result of your bullet number 1, if Rita came over and started beating you up, we might need a few people to restrain her. So I just want to comment on, I found each one. Sorry, I'm very sorry. So, a head scratch on each one of the 5 bullets, but I'm only going to comment on 2 of them. I'm not really asking you a question, just making a comment. First of all, on bullet number 1, you say spending to focus on necessities, reduce cost as opposed to avoid reduce unnecessary costs as opposed to avoid unnecessary costs, which suggests to me that we currently have unnecessary costs that need to be reduced, which my having, I guess, reviewed the financials at least once in the past 12 months and having hit Rita with a few questions on it, frankly, I never saw anything that I would consider an unnecessary cost, although I have obviously no information on salaries. And actually, I consider Mount Vernon Towers to be pretty tightly run. Okay, so, and the second bullet that I want to comment on is the 4th bullet. It says here, in addition, I would like to investigate more flexible dining options with residents, which residents have been requesting, such as a discount for those who would like to have all or most of their meals at MVT. So let me deal with that one first. First of all, the deal we have with Morrison's is a cost-plus deal. I don't see that there's economies of scale here. Morrison's, whether you go for 18 meals a week or 1 meal a week, one meal is going to cost the same. So I don't really see the logic to suggest that anybody who eats 18 meals here should be charged less for a given meal than somebody who just eats 1 meal here. And as far as the second half of that comment, and credits for those who have dietary health restrictions and cannot eat the food prepared in the dining room. Well, before this meeting, I chatted with the restaurant manager, Steve. And I said, Steve, I showed him this thing. I said, Steve, can you think of any dietary or health restrictions that would limit people from eating food prepared in the dining room? So he thought about it actually for a little while. He said, well, actually, it could be that for people who are on a very low salt diet, they might find the menu not as varied as, they might get bored after a while. And he said they would have to, deal with that, accommodate the person. And the last thing I'm going to comment on bullet 4 is this morning, I went and I asked Susan, I said, Susan, how many people have requested a discount if they were to eat all or most of their meals in the restaurant? And the answer was 0. And then I said, okay, how many people have asked for credit because they feel they have dietary or health restrictions and cannot eat the food prepared in the dining room? So the answer was, again, 0. So I'm just wondering, why are these people telling you or coming to you with these 2 suggestions, whereas I would think one of the people that they will go to is Rita. And sorry, I said I wasn't going to ask a question, so it's not a question, it's just a comment. Thank you.
Okay, I can address that a little bit in as far as meal plans and dietary restrictions and things like that. Just as an example, I had a client call me the other day who was looking for a kosher diet, and I called and spoke to Steve, and he told me, no, we don't have any kosher diets, so therefore that person could not move in here. A lot of people will come to me after they move in here and think I'm part of Mount Vernon Towers, management, and I have to let them know to call Rita or Susan, but they have comments for me all the time of what they like, what they don't like, and that will always happen, and I'm happy to I would like to help be an advocate to streamline some of those questions that they have about food that they don't ask dining or they don't ask the front desk. Again, I just am looking to help Mount Vernon Towers with their menu. I was in the food business for many years myself, so as far as menus, as far as self-serve food, as far as kiosks and things like that, I'm just trying to help streamline to the future. For people don't like a lot of the meals, and if they don't like them, for instance, again, we just got a new menu, and a bunch of people have already told me about some of their favorite foods being taken off already. For instance, somebody in here just talked to me last night about her 2 favorite sandwiches being taken off, and there's nobody she knows that she could go to, so she just accepts it. So I just want to help and see if I can move that on further, and if there's any changes to be made, work with the dining committee, or there's not a committee, but the dining management.
Thank you. I'm sorry? Well, we've got something right behind you. And then we're going to get to Sue or Dave. Hang on, one new one.
I'm new here, so I really don't know much of what's going on. But I think this is for Jerry. I'm not sure. I have been hearing all these rumors about he wants to paint this building white. That is so ridiculous. It's going to get moldy, and then we'll have to repaint and repaint. Is this true?
This is how rumors get started. I have never once mentioned anything about painting the building or not painting the building, and I'm not sure where you got your information from, but no, I do not think this building needs to be painted white at all.
I'll take the answer on that question. Back at the last annual meeting in December, the owners, guess who they are? They voted about 75% to say, no, we will not paint the building.
Thank you. Any other questions before we go around? All right, Dave?
This is for Michael. One thing. Obviously, you enjoyed your time here, and
hear you in the back.
And
Louder. Yell into it.
actually,
Hey, let's do this. Let me have that.
He's already touched it.
All right, now talk. I'll hold it, you talk.
okay, Michael.
Yes, sir.
The question is, if you, with everything that you did here and you enjoyed it so much, and you retired, but you continued to work, why did you leave Mount Vernon Towers?
Well, I thought it was a good time to take a break, retire, look at life. I sat home for quite a while, and my wife got on my nerves. I've been married 45 years, and I'm not a person, all I've known my entire life is working from 8-10 years old, and I just couldn't sit at home. And I found it difficult, and that's just not who I am. When I go to work one day, they're going to pull the shovel out and take me somewhere else someday. But I will continue to work as long as I can. Sometimes you need different challenges.
Okay, this question is more for Jerry, I suppose. I am not on Devin's email list, so I did not get a chance to see what she sent out to the other residents. But anyway, that didn't happen. But the issue of a conflict of interest may be real or perceived. However, even if you can recuse yourself from decisions regarding real estate or unit sales, etc., the influence and position of power still exist. I realize that legally you can have a realtor on the board. I have no problem with that. But I can see there being a perceived amount of influence on owners who wish to sell and feeling obligated to use you as a realtor because you are on the board. Perception can be a reality. Would you choose to give up your position as an on-site realtor if you join the board?
I don't think I should have to make that choice. That's my job. Just for instance, like Bill Lane was an accountant here and he worked on the board. My expertise, this is my past 25 years of my life, is real estate. So as far as I live here, I'm very invested in this place. I've helped make this place a better place in my opinion, bringing up property values. And again, that's what I want to be on the board for, because as far as the conflict, I think would be conflicted if I didn't keep on trying to help. And that's my whole reason I'm being on here, is to make, and I'm also a volunteer to make Mount Vernon better in the future. So as far as changing anything right now, I don't see the need. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to make a comment. I was a member of Scott's Morrison Committee, and anybody that doesn't like something that was dropped off the menu, this is why we put the comment cards on the table. If you don't use them, we won't know. They don't go to Morrison's, they go to our administration department. So please, if you don't like something in the dining room, fill the card out and turn it in. Thank you.
Hi, I wanted to make a comment with regard to the conflict of interest, because I know that there are, like Sue said, you can have a perceived conflict of interest and actual conflicts of interest. But what our board is responsible for doing as members of the board is to manage any potential conflicts. I can't say that I agree that the board's done that, because I know that there have been some conflicts in the past that weren't managed properly, that were kind of sprung on us. But I really believe that there are professional people that are willing to serve on our board, and if they can follow the oath that they have to, I don't know if they swear to it, but there's an oath that they will manage conflicts. I just don't see how that, having a realtor on the board is a problem, so.
Thank you.
Okay. My question is again for Michael.
Okay.
Okay.
Speak up.
There's a lot of percentages and things that you say about improving the facility. You said there was a 20% vacancy when you moved here. When I moved here in 2016, there was a 40% vacancy. So it went downhill from the time you came. But that's not, and also, you're designing 110 units. That's over 1/3 of the towers. Now, your renovations do not, I do not feel, accelerated the sale of condos, because you were limited in what you did. The real acceleration came when Jane Stewart's unit was renovated in 2015, knocking out that wall, and that was a design by her grandson-in-law. And Randall Hurd did it, and then everybody copied that. So many of us copied that, and that accelerated the sales. And they are on the website, all remodeled. And so anyway, that's just a comment.
Can I address that? I haven't, again, in my packet here, when I did come, there was 60 empty condos at the time. As I mentioned to you earlier, some of the condos were just paint, some were just carpet. And I know, as yourself, some units were quite extensive and very nice. Out of the 100 units that was renovated, went through Mount Vernon Towers, that's what brought us back up to where we were. I have a letter in this packet from the old realtor. I'm not here to toot his horn, but his letter for all of you to read is basically, by renovating and turning with management, we turned this building around as a group, as a team, and as an owner. I was also an owner. I have a lot of interest in this place. And not everyone was 30, 40, 50,000. Some were 2,000, some were 5,000, some were 40, 50, $60,000 remodels. And it went through Mount Vernon Towers. I mean, to pull the records out, I don't have the records anymore. But that's what it was when I came here. They were giving these condos away. I had an owner walk down the hallway one day and say, "Here's my keys, take my condo." That's how bad it was. I got my condo at a very good rate. I'm grateful. And I pass that along to my tenant. But I will tell you is that those were the numbers back then. And anyone who cares can take one of these packets. What the realtor said is that we worked as a team. We worked as management. No one did not work individually. And it took a lot to turn this building around. And there was 100 units that went through over Mount Vernon Towers books, okay? And if it was a paint job, if it was a carpet, if it was a knobs or whatever, but it was 100 agreements, contracts with individual owners. With that being said, it was done, and I'm glad it happened because that's where we're at today, and we're a much better place.
Thank you.
This is a question for each of you. I would like to know what is your opinion of the number one subject that most of the people in the MBT is on their mind, whatever it may be, whether it's building or food or anything else. I'd just like to know what is your opinion of the general public.
Who wants to take it first?
I'll take it.
Did we understand the question, you all? Okay, I believe he asked for each of their opinion on what was the number one.
Relative to MVT, it's been relative to the improvement at MVT, as your opinion of the general public, the number one thing that you would attribute it.
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
From what I can gather as an owner, of course I don't live here, but it's really a toss-up. It's between two things. It's food and the fees. And I will tell you, we're blessed to have Mount Vernon Tower because you can't go anywhere else and live for what the owners pay. What we're billed, what Mount Vernon Tower gives us, you cannot get these activities, what management does for these owners. It can't be found anywhere in land. I'll tell you because I worked with Trinity Lifestyles, which was the founder of Sunrise. I know the owners, all the properties, other companies, and we're blessed. The food is another issue from what I gather. The board's working on it, the committees are working on it, but I will tell you, what this company does, what this organization does, they do a great job, and sure, anything can always be improved, but controlling the fees, there's always going to be expenses, and I will tell you, our expenses here are much lower than anywhere else. So we pay a very fair and blessed amount of money. And we're not going to get rich from it, but we're always telling you, we've got a good place to live. Food can always be improved, but I would tell you, we get a lot of food for what they bill us. And, for what we're charged, you can't beat it.
Thank you. Meg?
Can you not do something about the internet?
Go ahead, Meg. If you'll answer the question about what you think your number one improvement.
Answer the question?
Yes. Did you hear this question?
Oh, yes, I did,
Okay.
yes. I cannot disagree that food is going to be way up on the top of the list. And I also cannot disagree that we living here have taken from our backs many things because of the staff that is here. And we have to be thankful for that. We have to be mindful of that. And food was first. The other thing is the intangible of feeling a part of it. And we need that. We need to feel a part of being here. And that happens in many ways. One of them is communication. Communication is something that doesn't fit, one size does not fit all. You have to work at it. You have to do it in different ways because different ears are listening, different eyes are seeing, and we have to work at that. So what? It boils down to food, communication. I'm not sure what there is, if there is a third place here, but I agree. We have to be thankful for what we have here. Before I moved here, I looked at a lot of places. I came here in 2013. There weren't any like this. There were very, very few like this. And we must be thankful. We must keep it as good as we can.
Thank you, Meg.
I'll pick up from where Meg was talking. First thing that came to my mind when Bob asked that question was quality of life.
Yes.
Quality of life, because all the things that have been enumerated here already come under that broad category of quality of life. And that's what we want to have for everyone who lives here, whether you're an owner-occupied condo, whether you're a renter. We want to provide a good quality of life. And yes, our pricing is excellent. You won't find this quality anywhere for this price. Yes, we have a great staff, and much caring is put into the staff, and you know they work 24/7 basically. They may not be here on site all that time, but they're always on call and always available. So it boils down to, I think Mount Vernon Towers provides quality of life, and we need to continue to keep that good and strong.
Thank you. Hang on, one more.
I'd like to agree with everybody up here, and also, as far as myself, I'm 65 years old, so I figure I've got another 20 plus years here, and I see, and from what I see is the improvements are coming. They don't always come as fast as we want because we've had a pandemic. I think things are starting to get back to a somewhat of a normal. And if we could catch up with our technology as far as, like I said, streaming and kiosk, and catch up with what other buildings are doing, or such as kiosk in the airport or apartments or things like that, where you can pay your bills, you can have a multitude of on-screen, touch screen, where it keeps the management from doing 4 or 5 jobs, one over the other, when it could be all done and simplified in that kiosk. So the quality of life here keeps getting better as we keep on upgrading. So I think we're in the right direction, and I appreciate the board that's been here, and I appreciate moving forward with them. And anything I can do to help, that's what I'm here for.
Thank you. All right, anyone in the back? All right. I'll do my, nope, I'll hold.
This is a general comment, and anybody can comment on it after I say it. I've heard a rumor that, I think it relates to Scott, that he's been here quite a while, and maybe it's time to go to a different person as we move forward. My experience is 20 years of condo board experience, and I know that when you've got experienced people, doesn't matter if it's Scott or anybody else here, when you've got experienced people who are on the board and are providing a good service, you don't just want to brush them away and go to somebody else, because that experience is a learned experience on the facility, and it is incredibly important for us to have that kind of stability here.
Was that a question?
It's a comment, and anybody else here that has a comment, a consideration about that can respond.
All right, Michael?
I'll be glad to comment. I would like to thank Scott for being on the board. He and I interacted quite often. You know, everything we did, a lot of the remodeling, as you can see this room, I oversaw it, I helped design it. When we did all the lights in this building, I turned to Scott. You know, we bidded it out. You know, we had 3, 4, 5 proposals. We had up to $200,000 on some of the proposals if they financed it, and we just paid them some money. It'd be 100 and something if we took and did it in-house and paid them. Or we did it in-house ourselves and we did it for maybe 25% of it. You know, yes, I believe Scott's done a good job. I'm not here to take anything away from him. And I'm very grateful for the time when he was on the board when I was here. But there again, you know, I feel that I bring a lot to the table. I bring my food background. I ran Roma Foods. Everybody knows Roma Foods pretty much throughout the East Coast in America. I ran the founders' operations, their restaurants. I built them. I oversaw the executive chef in New York. I own 5 restaurants. I see a lot of things. You know, when I first came here, the HVACs were costing us $1,700 a unit. I went to the manufacturer, we got them for $1,200. When we did these chases, you know, we were talking to bids, correct me if I'm wrong, it was about 70,000, 80,000, bring an outside company to come in and clean the chases. Somewhere in that neighborhood, we didn't go with the contract. I cleaned it myself for, I think, around $2,000. I did the labor and so forth. All these activity rooms, I oversaw them, the bathrooms, the game room, the pool room, all that, I oversaw that. I didn't do it alone. I did it with supportive management, strong people. So I'm not taking anything from him. I'm very appreciative for what he's done. But I will say this way, I hope to bring my background, my experience in construction, in management. I've owned 4 or 5 companies over the years, very successful. I have references anybody can check on. And I would be honored to work for you folks. You know, and again, I want to say, Scott, thank you for all you did. And I enjoyed working with Scott. So, you know, it's not, he's better than me, I'm better than him. It's what I bring. And, you know, it's up to you folks to vote for however you want.
Thank you. Any other comment from the candidates?
Well, I feel like I need to reinforce what Michael had. We have worked together. I brought a engineering background to the table that I could evaluate and study and provide information. Michael brought a physical presence to the table where he actually did some of the work and directed some of the work. So as a member of the board, though, you're more involved with consulting type of a work than you are physical work. And you need to be able to understand that that's where the skill level comes in, is to consult, bring ideas, find outside contractors if necessary, provide information through our own people if necessary. And again, management needs to run the programs. The board does not run the program. Management does that work. That's what they're hired for. So we, and like Michael said, we have worked together on several of these projects and come to a conclusion that worked out for Mount Vernon Towers for the best.
Thank you. All right.
We got both of you?
One of the,
I have a question about, we were talking about consistency on the board. I would like to know what the candidates' feelings are on consistency and legal representation that we have for Mount Vernon Towers. I know we have an attorney that we've used for a lot of years, and I'm wondering how you feel about that legal representation, and would you be willing to look at somebody new?
was that to a specific person? Anyone?
Well, I mean, you know, as a board member, you have fiduciary. That comes first over any personal feelings, any personal thoughts. It comes down to protecting your interests, the interests of this facility, the building, and not just one person. How if one person feels this way, and you're going to hear all these comments and all these inputs from people. As a board member, it's just like me running my company. I did it with integrity, honesty, and you have to work hard at it. And sometimes you can't say what you know. You have to keep it among yourselves, confidential. And with that being said, sometimes things always turn out the way you want. But the board members work in conjunction with the management. Management is here to provide, guide, and protect you as the board members. And that's our duties as a board member. Nothing more is protect this facility and the integrity of it. And that's how it should be operated.
Is there anyone else?
Going back to the question about the legal counsel, the legal counsel has been with Mount Vernon Towers for many years. They were instrumental in writing some of the Georgia condominium laws. The attorney we deal with was premier in doing that. And so they do know a lot about Georgia condominium laws and where we should be and what we should be doing. To change would be acceptable in my sight if we found somebody who was better, who could do us a better job and give us a better result, and of course a better price. I'm not sure that that person's out there right now, and I feel that we have had good overall advice from this legal firm. Thank you.
If I may comment in this area, at this point we are looking forward. Thank heavens for the expertise that brought us to this point, but this is not the same building, it's not the same situation as it was 20 years ago. So fortunately, that is fortunate, but now we are looking forward. We are looking forward to a lot more maintenance problems, may I say, and we are also looking forward to a changing population. The comments about the upgrades in our systems here so that we can stream every TV show that we want to. I know if you're trying to do that, every once in a while you get the blue circle because there are too many people trying to stream at once. And those things are going to be the issues of the future. And we need to look forward. The board does this. Committees are very important because there is a vast range of information and expertise in the people that live here. But remember, committees make recommendations. They do not make policy. But I am a firm believer in committees that can help. I think committees have to be very cognizant of the fact of what their role is, but we must always be looking forward. That is my, I guess, my final word.
Do we have any more questions? Just because we said from 2 to 3:30 doesn't mean we have to sit here until 3:30. But I do want to make sure that you all have the opportunity to ask your questions. And this is the time. And I know we have a lot of vocal people, so I'm a little bit concerned that we have some shy people. Any other questions? Oh. I'll do that. Trying to take my job away from me. All right. Since there's no other questions, I will leave it up to our 4 candidates to close out with anything that you'd like to say. Who wants to go first?
We'll start from this end, I guess. So, I'd like to just thank all of you for being here today. I know it's a beautiful day outside. Become a nice day to take a walk and enjoy the new Veterans Park going in across the street, which puts Mount Vernon Towers right in the middle of a beautiful spot. It's going to get prettier. We will have many years together here, and I'm looking forward to continuing on the board so that I can complete the projects on the chases and complete the activities with Morrison's and all of the other things that need to be done with that situation there. So, thank you.
I thank every one of you for coming today and giving me the opportunity, and also the select committee to consider me for this position. What I bring to this position, or hope to bring to this position, is thinking outside the box, as I did when I worked here. I will always work to save money. I will always work to make sure we do the best job we can. I want to make sure everyone's happy. I want to make sure everyone's safe. I want to make sure that this place is known for being a good place to live. And the quality that we give and provide here, management does a good job. Management needs people to guide them. They need the support. Management will run this place, the board does not run it, we make suggestions. With that being said, I will work as hard for each and every one of you and every owner here and resident as I did when I worked here. And again, if I can find a way to save us money and not spend the money, I'll propose it. The board makes the decisions and the management, not one person. So I will work hard to be a team member, support each and every member here in the causes of why we live here and own here.
I think back to what I said earlier, that when you write a resume, you are able to blow your own horn, but they don't ask, or they don't give a space for you to talk about what did you get out of it, what were the takeaways. I mentioned that in Alaska I saw a lot of very frightened people who came to Alaska with huge salaries, much bigger than they could earn in the States, and suddenly discovered that they couldn't live on them. So you have to get all the information you possibly can before you make a decision. And sometimes you don't make the right decision, even then. Later, I worked for the Russians sent up the first satellite. Remember that, Sputnik? It was the cooperation of amateur astronomers all over the world that sent telegrams to Cambridge, Massachusetts, where Harvard professors put together an organization. Our office was in a Radcliffe dormitory, and I did my part of that calculation on a calculator, a Marchant calculator that you pulled the handle. But we worked together and we calculated the orbits of the Russian satellites and the first American satellites. And then later, astronomers began to learn programming, and programmers began to learn astronomy, and it got a whole lot easier. When I was a teacher, communication was, I mentioned, it was very important. You must communicate in different ways, and you must always try and keep that in your mind. And then last but not least, the little anecdote about Watergate. Boards must do the right thing. You cannot yield to pressure. You must get all that information. You must cooperate, and you must communicate. But best of all, you have to do the right thing in the end.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today, and I hope to be able to get on the board, help bring Mount Vernon Towers in the future, keep bringing it up, like I said, and I have a lot of friends and co-workers here who now are looking for bringing in a different crowd of people also. We're also looking to, by modernizing, bringing in some people who technically wouldn't be able to come in here because they still want to work and they want more modernization of the video, of the streaming, of the computers. They need everything to work at once, and when things stop, it kind of pressures them to might have to look elsewhere as far as, for instance, Comcast. I know somebody who just ended up paying $150 a month for Comcast because of the streaming that she couldn't get, and she was tired of it. And I'm at the point, me being in my job also, I would like to see the technology get better for everybody. So we can all watch everything we want. We can watch our tablets, we can watch our computers, we can watch our Netflix, and just make this a happy home for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all. All right, I always get the last word. I love it. Thank you all very, very much for coming. I do agree it's a beautiful day outside. This is our home. We do have an election every year. And again, thank you for your following the process. And I hope everyone got their questions that they wanted answered. So enjoy the rest of the day.